Nice to see such a rich, interesting mix of people. People I've known for decades and decades, and people who I've never met before. So, people who are just starting practice, and people who have really a lot of years under their belts. So, I have a couple of themes I was going to talk about, but I'm curious, what's been on people's minds? Why don't you give me some themes that are on your minds, or something that's relevant to spiritual practice, or spiritual practice as applied to daily life? And then we'll kind of work a little bit with that. Anybody have anything you'd like me to include or address? The floor is open.
Transition.
Transition. All right, Mr. Transition. You know, give me some help. I have to do it all myself. So.
Jill over here.
Yeah, Jill over there. Yes?
You mentioned response to acceptance.
Okay. Acceptance and response. All right. I'll just kind of make notes here and we'll include it all. Just yell out, you don't have to.
Confidence.
Confidence.
Insecurity.
Confidence and insecurity. All
Anger.
right. Anger. What do you mean by anger?
You tell me. Well,
All
we're
right.
looking at it in the precepts class right now.
Uh-huh.
My current anger is with feeling like the world's unfair.
Okay, world is unfair. That's a great one. All right. Mhm.
This could be a topic also for another day because I know it's a lot, but I just came back here for the now second time in a long time, and I think about, it's constantly going through my mind how to live the Buddha way, if you will, but also manage like desires to parent, be a parent, marry, get married, not marry, you know, kind of, I guess, managing the desire and like the existence of the other world out there, and
How to live.
practicing.
How to live the whole catastrophe with
Yes.
enthusiasm.
Have my cake and eat it too, is what I say.
Yes. Great. I think that's on all of our minds. Right? Anything else?
Buddha nature.
Buddha nature. What is that?
Well, I'm hoping that you can address or point out its presence or expression in seemingly mundane activities.
It's not a thing, but we'll work on it. Anything else? Anybody else?
Balance of kind of picking yourself up by your bootstraps versus seeking support in spiritual practice.
Okay. Bootstraps versus so self-reliance versus support. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have another one.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do spiritual practice, or do we receive spiritual practice, and how do those interface?
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one. Do we do life or do we receive life? Mm-hmm.
Grudgement.
Grudgement. Yeah. Now I know what you mean by grudgement because we know what, but other people may not know what you mean by grudgement.
Well, when you feel that you've been treated unfairly, or that even the world is unfair, and you feel a grudge, and that grudge bleeds into your daily life in the same way that judgment.
Okay.
Grudgement.
Grudgement. That's all right. It's a nice neologism. Anything else?
Figuring out what you want to do.
Figuring out what you want to do. Figuring out what the world wants you to do. All right. Well, let's just. So the final foundation is we all have got right now. This body, breathing, moving, living. That's got to be the foundation. If we don't, and of course the first part of being a human being is we accept this is the foundation. You know, I got to deal with this particular gift. We've got to deal with how it eats and how it rests and how it works and how it I've got to, and to do that we have to know ourselves. Right? The more we know about how this particular body-mind works, then the more skillfully we can apply it. So how do we know how the body-mind works? Well, a couple of different ways. One is that we are engaged with life. The more we're engaged with life, the more we will learn what does and doesn't work. But also, if we are actually taking the time and the space to calm the mind down, to look directly and see, well, how does this body work? And in Dharma, one of the places that we get to look is, first off, how do I find equanimity and stability? But how can I actually see how I'm causing myself suffering and distress? So that acceptance is the foundation for looking inward, which is the foundation for knowing who we are, which is the foundation for how do we respond to the world. Now, if we are actually present with what is, this body, this mind right here, and we're not busy comparing ourselves with what might be, what could be, we're actually right here, then there is a confidence. I can only have this life, right? There's not two lives. There's not this life and a better life. Right now, I can only live this life. There's not, this life and my future life, which will be all bliss and happiness and fulfillment and warm and loving, and there's this life. So our confidence has got to be based upon being present, being settled, and being engaged with this life, this breath, this way of being. Now, when we have those fantasies of, oh, there's another life out there, oh, there's a better me that's three streets over or half an inch from my body or whatever. When we have that picture in our mind and we think, that is the real me, that is the better me, that is the glowing true me, I will move to Florida and be happy forever. Then we have this invidious comparison. Say, well, this life is inadequate. This life is not the best life. This life is not the life I should be leading. I should be leading that life. The bigger, the better, the brighter, the truer, the wiser, the more loving, the more compassionate life, not this life. As soon as we start thinking that way, we actually begin feeling resentful about this life. Why isn't this life the way I think it should be? It should be, I should be another foot taller. Why I should be lighter, I should be more open-hearted. The world is unfair. It's not, I'm unfair. That's the real life out there. The life of Disneyland. The life of, I went to the Epcot Center a few weeks ago. Talk about an unreal life. So that separation between our life and our so-called fantasy, real better life, that separation is dukkha, is frustration, is grinding. That's separation. And if we actually buy the other me, we buy the other world, we buy, oh, I'm not interested in the people here, I'm interested in you as other people. I'm interested in you all a foot taller. I'm interested in you all brighter. I'm interested in you all more loving, you different than you are. I'm not interested in who is here. I'm only interested in my picture of how things could, should, ought to be. And of course, we feel resentment, we feel anger, we feel distress, we feel despondent, because the world is not meeting. My opinion. And that, of course, makes us quite insecure. If we're insecure about this life and thinking, oh, the better life, the better life, the better me, then how can we have real confidence? How can we have really true acceptance? How can we be responding to the world and to my life as it is? How can I respond to reality when actually I'm trying to respond to some blissful, nirvanic other state? It's a problem. Or at least a problem we make it a problem. So that fundamental split between right here, trying to respond to this situation with this body-mind, or we're not here. We're off, a few millimeters or a few meters or a few years somewhere else, trying to respond to that fantasy. Frustration, frustration, frustration. Grudgement, dissatisfaction, unhappiness. And we're trying to figure out what to do with our lives. We're trying to figure out how to respond, what's important. And instead of actually looking at, okay, here's who I am, here's who's in my life, here's the real situation, these people, these beings, this is my life. Instead, we're not actually paying attention to that. We keep thinking, should be, should be, should be. And we're trying to solve the should be problem instead of the is problem. Now the future is unknown. It's all probability. Some things are pretty highly probable, like it is pretty probable that I'm going to stop talking. But the further out we get, the less probable things become. The further out we get in time, the less certain that things are going to unfold the way we think they're going to unfold. Right? Isn't that all your experience? We make plans for a fantastic vacation and we get to Fiji and suddenly we find that it's full of bugs. And the fantastic vacation we had planned suddenly is truncated by a tornado or typhoon or something. Further out we imagine and fantasize that the world is going to be, the less we are actually present here. And the less vital, the less effective our response is. Now, we are human beings, and so being responsive to our life is essential. We're not responsive, we're just sitting like lumps all day long, and we're not responsive to our life, at least from my vantage point. That's really a problem. We have to be responsive to our lives. We have to be responsive to this life, this life, this life, with all of its strengths and weaknesses, because that's where the juice is. That's where the life, the vitality is. So, that ability to say, okay, I do not know what the future is going to hold. It's all probability. A few things, we know we're going to die, we know things are going to change, but the shape of it is probability. I do know what is going on right now. I can look at the impulses, I can look at the aspiration, I can look at my heart's desires, I can look at what is really important to me at a heart level right now. And then, so instead of trying to make the future match the way we think it should be, I'll get a job as a banker and I'll earn lots of money and be able to buy a yacht and go swimming in the Caribbean, which will make me happy. Rather than having those fantasies, which we all have some version of, I come back to what is my heart's aspiration right now? What is really important to me right now? What is the the juice that is most alive right now. It often gets down to relationship. It often gets down to not just what am I going to do, but what am I going to do with other people? How am I going to interact with other people? How am I going to interact with my family, with my sangha, with my community? Right here, right now, what is the aspiration of my heart that I want to bring to my relationships? If we have an aspiration, say, okay, I value compassion, I value integrity, I value being present, but I also am somebody who likes to learn, I like to read, I like philosophy, I like to fix things, and we bring our nature with our aspiration in this present moment, all kinds of interesting things unfold. Diane was telling me this morning that one of his sons went to school as a landscape architect, and he came out and decided he didn't like that at all. So he went to work for the railroad. But in working for the railroad, there were situations where his mind of a landscape architect suddenly fit with working for the railroad. And now he's traveling around the country and kind of rising up in the hierarchy because he has something that he loved, which he did not know how it was going to be applied, something that he loved, he had integrity, and then he took that thing he loved with integrity step by step by step by step by step. And by doing the best thing now, and the best thing now, and the best thing now, and the best thing now, we end up with the best outcome. And the best thing means, do we know ourselves well enough to have that next step be in alignment with our deep values and our hopes? And it may be to have a family, it may be to go to school, it may be to become a contractor, it may be to anything. The world is open. There is no should. It is about having integrity. And when we have that kind of integrity, we have a sense of confidence. And we have that kind of integrity, then we have something that we can rely upon. And if we have that kind of integrity and that kind of anchoring, I guarantee you the world will rise to support us, to meet us. There's nothing like somebody who is genuine, who has a vision or a hope for something bigger than they are. The world responds. The world says, "Oh, I'd like to join with that." So it is the integrity of being who we are, which usually involves people, which usually involves open-hearted wisdom, which usually involves action, which usually involves knowing how these hands and mind works, which involves taking the next step. Does that seem reasonable? So, all of us, if you look around the room, we are all so different. And frankly, we don't know who anybody else is. I've known some people for 20 or 30 years, but what do they do when they're at home? I don't know. And frankly, people are always a mystery. So in our lives, all kinds of things are just coming forward. All kinds of people we didn't expect are coming forward. All kinds of things are arising within us. And we can say, is that me that's making these things happen? Or is that the kind of my responsiveness to the world that's making things happen? Is that impetus coming from the inside or from the outside? Or in between? Where am I really? Am I some thing that's a thought? Am I before thought? Am I separate from the world, or am I including the world? We begin to look and say, who am I? How does this whole business work? And if we're looking carefully and we slow our minds down and we look deeply in, we begin to see that the world and who we think we are not two different things. What we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and the objects that we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and the knowing of that seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching as examples and thinking are not separate. So then we say, does my life purpose come from the outside or from the inside? Does my activity come from the outside or the inside? When we are stabilizing ourselves, looking at the nature of mind, beginning to understand what's being brought to us, how we ended up in this particular shape and place, we begin to realize, oh, the world is asking for my presence. The world is asking for my presence. The probability of you, any of us, being who we think we are, this concatenation of causes and conditions, the probability of you actually being you right here, right now is almost impossible. So low. The probability of all of your parents and grandparents, all those generations for 30,000 years, all those couples meeting and bearing a child and going on to the next generation for 30,000 years, all those people and all those incompetent factors meeting, leading to you, is so, the probability is so low, it is zero, essentially. And yet here we all are. And so, from that perspective, your life, our life, is a miracle. It's absolutely a miracle. And this miracle has a place in the universe. This miracle is important where it stands. And so understanding this miracle by looking directly at the mind, by being aware and engaged with the world, suddenly things unfold in mysterious ways. And it's not maybe in the big sense of the word, it is harmonious, but from a personal perspective, it's just total chaos. And yet, it's our life of engagement. So in a way, the whole catastrophe is our life. The last thing I didn't mention is transition. If we look at, in this tradition, we chant the Heart Sutra almost every day. Certainly if you live around here. Almost every Zen Buddhist group around the world chants the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra, the Bodhisattva of compassion, from the depths of samadhi, of practicing, of meditation, saw the flow of all the conditions. And seeing the flow, change, transition, impermanence, seeing the flow of everything, that insight relieves suffering. That insight that everything is flowing, our thoughts flow, our feelings flow, our body position is always flowing, our circumstances are flowing, everybody is flowing, people are coming into us, people are coming out, leaving us, everything is flowing constantly. By seeing that everything is always in transition, it's always flowing, we are never stuck, unless we get stuck in our mind with a spiral, wormhole. We're always in transition. So to navigate, negotiate that transition, the best thing to do is to have this sense of personal integrity. To know what's really important. And then, as the river is flowing, we have a rudder that takes the next step, And it might be, the next step is apply to college. It might be the next step is to get a job with NIH. There's lots of next steps. It doesn't have to be kind of small. All right, did that cover everything people mentioned?
What about Buddha nature, Anshin's Buddha nature?
It's all Buddha nature.
I feel like that was addressed.
It's all Buddha nature. It's all a mystery. It's all just unflowing. You can't put your finger on anything and all. It's just. So we use the word Buddha nature just to talk about the transcendental. Buddha nature, God, the eternal now, oneness, Rigpa. There is this idea that we have as relative beings that there is a non-relative, that there is something that's transcendent. Now, of course, that's only an idea from the relative perspective. Because if you don't have, you're not if you only know the oneness of things, there's no relative. It's all one part of the oneness. So, in a way, Buddha nature is a name we made up. So just ignore it. Sorry. Good. Any other comments, questions, insights, advice, reactions, opinions, judgments, clarification? Enough is enough. Thank you all. May you all practice. Oh, well, actually, there's one more thing. The purpose of this kind of talk, or even being here, is so people can practice, so you can embody. Wisdom that's not embodied is just not, it's just another thing you read in a book. It has to be embodied, by putting our mind where we walk, by putting our mind where we are, by investigating, by curiosity. So it's not just, oh yeah, it's in a book, I read it, that's true. That's dead, it's not helpful. It's got to be embodied. So anything that I'm saying should be investigated. Is it true? Is it really true? Verify. Verify for yourself. This is not about, oh yeah, somebody said it, I accept it, therefore it's true. Verify, verify, and verify through practice and through inquiry. So if you just do that one piece, that's the most important piece of the whole thing. Verify through presence and inquiry. Thank you.